This is Texans TV.
Spring break 23, H-Town, what's going on? I hope you're getting to enjoy it. I'm working. These guys that are shooting this are working, but hey, maybe you're not. Anyways, this is Texans 360. We're so very happy that you're with us, and I'm Drew Doherty, your host. Got a fun show for you this week because we're rewinding and checking out some things from last week at the Combine. But we begin by checking out some of the new assistant coaches, namely the new defensive coordinator and the new offensive coordinator, plus a holdover in the special teams coordinator position in Frank Ross. Those guys all spoke with the media on Wednesday inside NRG Stadium.
Scheme-wise, is make sure everyone's on the same page. And again, putting our guys in the best positions.
What are some of the things you think we can do actually?
Good to see you guys. So spring ball, putting a whole new staff together. Excited to be a part of the 23 Texans. I'm one of the holdovers, fortunate to be that, and excited for the new adventures ahead.
First of all, just wanted to say how fired up and excited I am to be here. You know, really excited to get this thing going, hit the ground running, get together with everybody and see what we can do.
It's been a cool kind of first month getting to work here and getting to know the people in the place. Just wanted to say thanks to DeMeco and Nick and the McNairs for giving me this opportunity. So excited to get to work.
All I know is we didn't return balls for touchdowns. Had some takeaways. We didn't block a punt. We didn't block a field goal. So there's really good and really proud badge of honor for some of those things. The first thing on my to-do list is what can we do that we haven't been able to get done yet.
DeMeco's vision and mine kind of lined up in terms of how we see defense being played, and we want to be aggressive and an attack front. And I have a history in that front, and obviously what DeMeco did in San Fran. So at the end of the day, my job's try to help him execute his vision for what he wants. There are some pieces on defense that we like that we're looking forward to working with, and obviously still in the process of really getting to know those players. They're just starting to come back and work out some of the guys who are kind of bumping into them around here. So foundationally, excited for some of the pieces that think fit what we're looking to do.
How we see everything working together is, we're an offense built on precision. Everybody kind of working together in unison, on time, in rhythm. That's the starting point, but it's not any one given position. We see how it all fits.
I did keep my same office, okay? So I've kind of have this dorm room feel in my office, and there's been a lot of foot traffic in there. It's been good, meeting Bobby, Matt. Burke comes down. He's been raiding the energy drink cooler. It's just been good to have new faces, build new relationships.
A lot of the scheme is you have a system, you have a philosophy. And for us at the Texans, it kind of is the whole team. It's not just one specific side of the ball. DeMeco always says swarm. That applies to offense also. Everything we want starts with, are we fast, are we physical, are we tough? And that, again, is when you turn on the tape of our offense, that's what you want to see. That should be the first thing that jumps out to you. And then outside of that, a lot of our scheme fits our players.
There's not a lot of teams that sort of play the style that we're going to ask these guys to play, so it's going to be a projection for us. Our task is to really dig into these guys, whether it's draft or free agency, and sort of project, okay, putting them into the scheme and the techniques that we're asking these guys to play, can they have success doing that? So I think that's really sort of what we're undergoing right now. And as we sort of watch our scheme stuff, we're kind of doing half scheme, half sort of free agent draft stuff right now.
I hope there's a quarterback one day that wants to play special teams. The game of football in totality is 11 on 11. It's not, 1 versus 1. There's situational games within games and roles and matchups, yeah, but everybody's got to put their foot in, and at any point in time, you become a tackler, you become a blocker, you become a ball carrier. It doesn't matter who you are. So that's football 101, and the more players that can have that ego-free, I'm pigeonholed into this, the more players that come into our league with that mentality, I think, and of course there's going to be a little bias. I'm a kicking game coach, but I think that'll serve you better.
DeMeco's philosophy is, bringing in good people and the right type of people for this program and for this organization. But just on the field, we want, smart, tough, fast guys that can play physical and play in space for us.
It's going to be fun to see what those guys do and what goes differently for the Houston Texans this season on the field with a new defense and a new offense and a fantastic special teams from 2022. Hopefully carrying over into 2023. You know what else is fun? When DP Sidhu gets the mic, gets loose in Indianapolis, and talks to some of the national types about the Texans and their future. That's what she did, and here is a little bit of that.
The Texans have the number 2 overall pick. What do you think they're going to do with that pick? I'm going to start with you, Ian.
I think they're going to find the 2 best players in the draft and take one of them. Now,
Such a
no. I would say
You're not a GM at the podium. You can give an actual answer.
Nick Caserio can't turn that card in. One of these 2 best players. He's got to turn in one name.
I think they take the best quarterback that they can, and I think they should. Now, what's going to be interesting to me is, Nick has always moved around in the draft. Do they move around this time? Do they move back? Do they move up? Like, might they go from 2 to 1 just to get the guy they wanted? Like, possible. And one of the more, it's not unique, because I think there's plenty of other GMs that think like this, but I think Nick's brain is really extremely open to every option. So if that is the best option, I could see him go from 2 to 1. I could see him going back a little bit if the right value isn't there. I mean, there's going to be a fascinating thing to watch him during the draft.
I'm taking a quarterback.
Do you have a quarterback in mind that you would like to pick?
No, but I really like Bryce Young.
Okay.
I'm concerned about his height because they tell us to be concerned about his height. Now, it wasn't an issue for Drew Brees, but that's because of how smart Drew Brees was. And I'm a short person, so I don't like when height becomes an issue. But that's why Nick Caserio gets the big bucks and I don't.
If you're Nick Caserio, who are you taking with number 2?
I guess the quarterback that's not taken number 1 overall. Unless you fall head over heels in love with Will Anderson, who I proffer to say will be available 2nd overall, because somebody's going to take a quarterback 1st overall. I doubt it's the Bears. I bet you they'll trade out. Maybe the Texans can flip to just trade up to 1 and get that pick back that they can then use on a quarterback. So I would imagine right now, as we're standing here on the first day of March, I would say C.J. Stroud will be a new Houston Texan.
Now, it's interesting because you do have a new head coach in DeMeco Ryans that just went to the NFC Championship game with Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy. DeMeco understands that it is 53 men and it is not 1. I know they need a franchise quarterback. I know that's the conversation that was going on in each one of these head coaching interviews of those guys that were coming in about what you do at number 2. I think Nick is not one to move up to 1 to get exactly who he wants. I think there's too many needs on this team, and I think he made that abundantly clear here. But if it's the quarterback you want, and he's there at 2, you're taking quarterback at 2. But if the quarterback that you want specifically isn't there, I wouldn't be surprised if they go best player on their board, whether it's one of these edge guys or one of these guys at the top of the board on the inside from Georgia. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they end up doing, because there's so many other needs as well. May not be the sexy move, but they got needs.
The Bears, like every other team that does not necessarily have an urgent quarterback need, is going to be open to trading the pick. Everybody would love to pick up extra picks, still move back a few slots, get a really good football player. However, that requires somebody to want to pay to move up to number 1, which means the Bears have to convince somebody that the Texans are going to take the guy that they want, whoever that might be, most likely one of the quarterbacks. Bryce Young's going to be one of the really interesting guys to watch this week, even though he's not doing anything on the field. The size is something that everybody's talking about, not just the height, but the fact that he played at like 186 pounds last year. Does that project to the NFL? It's going to be one of the driving storylines over the next couple of months.
Well, I'm not there, like, as far as, like, I got a feel for all these guys, but I can't give you, like, a stone-cold answer. But here's what I'll say with those picks. Yeah, I think this is, the team has got a lot of, the good core basic principle players on the team throughout. There's a phrase I always use, a lot of good meat and potato guys. Now it's time to get some guys that, can make plays, be difference makers, get a big sack to close out the end of the football game, right? So I look at hey, pass rusher, certainly something I would think that the Houston Texans are going to be looking at in this draft. Maybe a big-time wide receiver to go along with it, right? And then, of course, we know the quarterback is going to be, I'd be shocked if they don't go somewhere with the quarterback. DeMeco Ryans with a 6-year contract, that should give him the confidence to go, no, yeah, I want the quarterback. I'm going to be here to develop it and be a part of it. So I think those are the ones that probably jump off, out at me right off the top of my head.
This is Texans 360. Drew Doherty here inside the Houston Methodist Training Center, where the good guys sometimes practice and get set for the games and the season ahead. All right, one of our favorite guys to talk with is Rhett Lewis of the NFL Network. He's got a very special connection to the team, and he's got a nice outlook broadly at the NFL landscape. John Harris and Mark Vandermeer went 2-on-1 with Rhett in Indianapolis at the Combine.
You do a heck of a job, Rhett.
Thank you, John.
And you seem like you do a million different things in NFL Network. You're fair. You're sort of the Darren Sproles, if you will, because they can put you anywhere and you can do pretty much anything. And where are you expanding to now? Like, what all kind of lands on your plate?
This is my favorite time of year, for one. This is like Christmas to me. Truly it is. And really it goes back to playoff time, because playoff time is also all-star game season as we kind of make that beginning of that push towards the path to the draft, right? And so that's what I love, when like those worlds really collide. And then post-Super Bowl, we really get that focus into the draft, right? And so I love this part of the job, like the draft, the combine. That's kind of become my niche more so in these last couple of years. I host our daily draft show, which begins in April, Path of the Draft, which I love. I'm going to be a part of our work for NFL Plus on doing the on-field drills on Thursday and Friday. And so really excited about that, and just getting to know college players, because that's also become another part. I do the color for the Indiana football radio broadcasts. I did that for the first time this year. So it's great now because like I used that to help me with this, right? Because I see those players in person. So now I can talk about all these guys that I've seen live and not just getting to see them for the first time at the Combine anymore, which is great. So I love this time of year. I love the opportunities that I get to be a part of our draft coverage, which starts here at the Combine.
So, Rhett, when you are kind of diving into your coverage, and we were talking to DJ the other day, and he's like, I get into like 400 players, and we know our buddy Lance, he's like, he does like 500 or so.
He does.
When you dive into it, how deep do you want to go? Like, how much do you want your width and breadth to really be of knowing who these guys are? Because, like you said, play-by-play guys, color guys, they're going to look at things completely differently, but you're kind of looking at both. How do you kind of look at that and separate and delineate between that?
It's a good point. And, by the way, Zerline's an animal with the amount of reports that he does. DJ's the same. I mean, DJ was cranking on tape, he probably told you, from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. for 2 weeks straight, trying to get these 319 players that are here at the Combine, and put them in his database. I am mostly focused this week on the defensive players. So, like, I've had, 150 or so that I've been trying to watch. Like, I'm trying to watch, like, 20 plays of each guy. Like, just so I can have a sense, get a flavor, get an understanding. And then once this is over, and that's, it's a lot of times what evaluators end up doing at the Combine is, like, they'll see something pop, right? You see a 40-time pop, and you're like, whoa. I didn't see that on tape. Go back and look at that again, right? And you see, like, I didn't see that explosive ability, that he showed with a 40-inch vertical jump. Let me go back and see if I can find that and find out why and how. That's kind of like how I use that. So I dip my toes in, whereas those guys are going head first into the deep end of the pool.
You looking at the Texans with your kind of global NFL eyes.
Yes.
And I know it's been a struggle for the last few years. But what's kind of the national sentiment, and what's kind of your sentiment, Rhett, as you look at the Texans now after hiring DeMeco, the draft class last year, extra picks the next couple of years, sitting at number 2, number 12. How do you kind of look at this organization and where it is right now, where it could possibly go?
And I've said this now for more than a year, like really since Nick came in and started to put his imprint on this organization. I was like, there's some things to really get excited about. And I know it was hard to get people to get excited about that fact when the wins aren't showing up. Exactly. But man, if you and you can't do this in this game, but if you separate wins and losses from it and you just look at the tape and you look at, like, the flashes you've seen from Nico Collins. You look at what Brevin Jordan did at the end of his rookie year, 2 years ago, and you're like, dang, man, and then you see Damian Pierce, bulling a China shop this year. And we saw flashes from Davis Mills, certainly a quarterback too. And then, you're starting to have those building blocks up front as they keep trying to fortify that part of it. And you got one of the best in the game, obviously, in Laramie Tunsil. The things that I'm really excited about are the young pieces on offense. I think if we'd have seen a full season and a full 17 from Derek Stingley, we'd be talking about Sting the same way we're talking about Sauce with the Jets, truly. I think he's that kind of player. And so now what I'd love to see just from the outside are more guys that can affect the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, guys that can rush the passer. And I think you're a great spot to get one at 2 and at 12. And, the fact that you got 12 picks in this draft as it is, I know a lot of them are on day 3 with those, 4 or 5 6-rounders?
4 6-rounders, I think.
But you got 5 in the top 73 picks.
Yep.
Like, that is an incredible opportunity to build foundational pieces of this team.
Rank the off-season events for us because you do NFL Network coverage all the time. So
Okay, so for me, number 1 is the draft.
Okay.
Number 1 is the draft, the excitement. I mean, look, guys, you remember, if you can separate your AFC South rivalry bias for a moment, the draft in Nashville and the scene
that was
on Broadway.
That was unbelievable.
We are calling people's names at a podium.
Yeah, I know. That's what I always say. That's what I always say.
But that is, that is.
But the how it's done and the who does it,
and the
Pat
win.
McAfee standing up there and just absolutely
Laying into
scorching
him, right?
the Titans fans.
Oh my God!
It's incredible.
It's theater,
Yeah,
and
it
really is. And it's a great reality show. And you're seeing storylines as the draft goes up and down the board, first, second round. There's so much drama and intrigue, and and all of that is the build up to it. So the draft is number 1.
Red, thanks a lot for joining us.
You got it, buddy. Thanks, Mark.
Texans 360 continues, and one of the great things about the Combine in Indianapolis is not just seeing who runs fast and who can bench the most, but hearing from your GM and your head coach. Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans both held press conferences in Indianapolis last week, and we learned a little bit about what's ahead.
It's been awesome working with Nick. We hit the ground running. I'm happy to be a part of a team that has a GM in place who has so much experience. A guy that I can bounce ideas off of. He's seen it done many ways, seen a lot of different players.
He's been great. Everything that I think that I heard or knew about him beforehand has come to fruition, and a lot of fun to come in the office. The staff has been great to work with to this point, so we know we have a lot of work in front of us. Nothing's going to happen overnight, but it's great. It's been great to have him around. Really has.
It's one day at a time, all right? And I'm not really focused on what happened in the past, but where we are right now and moving forward. I feel really good about the staff we have in place. I feel good about our process and how we're working together to help build a successful team.
I think there's a number of players that can help different teams. They come in different shapes and sizes, so I think in the end you got to decide what's important, what do you prioritize. Really what you want to do with every player on your team is what do they do well, what are the things that we can give them to do well and give them the best opportunity to do that. So really that's the focus. It's not one size fits all.
I'm relatable to guys because I've been in these guys' shoes, right? I played the game. I've been here through this combine process. I've played the game, played at a high level. I understand what players go through, not only on the field, but it's off the field where guys are pulled in a lot of different directions. So understand, for you to be able to be a good coach, you have to be able to connect with guys, right? And it's not just about telling guys what to do. It's being on that level with the guys where they have a true mutual respect for you. You guys truly feel that I have their best interests at heart. And that's the only thing I care about is developing great men on the field and off the field. And I'm indebted to those guys. I want to see them be as successful as possible, see them create great lives for their families moving forward. That's my connection with players.
There's a lot of factors that go into being a really great player. Are they committed to being great? A lot of people talk about being a great player. Is the player actually committed to being great? So our job is to evaluate those traits and characteristics and make sure we're identifying the players that have the right qualities. DeMeco's talked about this, the swarm mindset, that whole mentality. So that's going to be pervasive throughout the organization. So trying to identify and find players with that mindset, and the more types of people and more types of players we get in the building with that mindset, then it'll give ourselves a better chance, hopefully.
In television, there are few things better than when you mic up a football player or a head coach. DeMeco Ryans, the Texans head coach, was wearing a wire in Indianapolis at the Combine, and here's some of the fun stuff that ensued.
Good, man. How you doing? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, baby. How you doing, man?
Talking to my old guys.
Yeah?
Old crew. I come see them every year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
Better
Good man.
right here.
Playoff. Took us to the playoffs, Doc.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. How y'all doing? Hey, John. Good to see you. Hey, what's up? Good to see you again. Good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, everything's going great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy, a little chaotic.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But part of it, huh? It's been quite the adjustment. But it helps having great help around to help out with all of the adjustments, all of the moving pieces. Just understand that it's about having the right people around you to help out because you can't do it all on your own. It's not about one person, it's all about the team. My philosophy is it's about the team, and it's truly a chance to continue to build off of the young foundation that we have, and that's kind of me as a coach. I enjoy working with younger players who are eager to learn, eager to grow and develop and be their best. The top priority for us, for me, was coaching staff, getting the right coaches in place. Now, when it comes to the roster, it's just, for our guys, it's evaluating our roster, see where we are, right? And then it'll be about making sure we acquire, the best talent. We have a lot of areas to get better in, so it's about acquiring the right talent for our team. So I look at it, what is it this year, right? How can we establish the fundamentals and techniques that we need to play with, and how can that coach relate and help those guys be better? If the players are bought into the coach and they know the coach truly can help them be better, then I think we'll be fine. How much information can you get out of a guy in 15-minute formal interview? So it's just being able to take the process slow, make sure guys feel comfortable, and make sure you truly understand who this guy is, what's his makeup, what's his background. Truly understanding that's the most important thing. If you have a guy, can you put him in proper positions, right, to make him successful? And I think all players come in different shapes, different sizes, different abilities. It's just all about, as coaches, that's our job to put those guys in the right position.
Let's say goodbye like we said hello in a special kind of way. All right, that's going to do it for Texans 360 this week. Couldn't have made this happen without the great Tyler Suddarth and the great Gardy Swingby. Those two doing excellent work as always. Make sure you check us out again next week, same time, same place. And as always, go to HoustonTexans.com or the Houston Texans mobile app if you want to learn more about your favorite football team. I'm Drew Doherty, and we'll see you next time. Go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.